Coming up, a Sad Styles production.
Get into it.
Hey, so Andrew, before we get recording, I have a question for you, and this is something it's been bugging me for a little bit, but I've been thinking about it. Who in your opinion, do you think would win in a fight? The Incredible Hulk or the X-Men?
Oh, that's tough. The X-Men's got many people, and the Hulk's so strong.
Oh, sorry. I didn't finish. I meant the Incredible Hulk, Ultimate Destruction, or the X-Men Rise of Apocalypse on the Super Nintendo.
The games?
Yeah. In a fight to the death, who do you think would win? And I know it's superheroes, so you don't want to get too gory, but like fight to the death.
Okay, wait, but you're talking about the physical games, if we fought them, or the characters in the game?
The physical media, Andrew. Physical media is dying, and I figure as they're being sent to their death, they can just have one more battle and duke it out. Now, before you answer this question, you got to realize, like, I'm talking Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction on the GameCube. Those are tiny little discs, but they're sturdy versus a Super Nintendo cartridge. You know, you have to blow on it. Sometimes they get dusty, but they're chunky. You can really just kind of...
Yeah, so wait, am I throwing them at each other?
You're not involved at all.
This fight might take a while then.
Well, yeah, but listen, we've got all the time in the world, Andrew.
Well, yeah, I guess we do. So I guess I gotta say Ultimate Destruction. You know what? We should talk about this.
We should talk about this, and we should also talk about all the greatest Marvel video games of all time in a tier ranking this week on the Retrograde Podcast.
Welcome to the Retrograde
Video Game Podcast, where we tier rank every single Marvel video game in history, or at least the best ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Tears for Fears. My name is Andrew Bascom, and with me, as always, is the bad boy podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself.
Mikey, Mr. Marvelous, Aaron Worth.
Oh, very good. Yeah, that's good.
It is. I don't know anything about Mr. Marvelous, but he's a real person, right? I mean, it's far as...
Real?
To who? He was at my wedding, Andrew.
Yeah. I looked down the line of the groomsmen, and there's Mr. He waved at me. He's like, hello.
What is Mr. Marvelous's power?
I don't know. That's the first time I'm ever hearing of this name.
Is he not a real person?
I don't know. This is a great start for this Marvel podcast.
Who is real?
Yes. Well, you know Mr. Sinister? Do you remember that one?
Is he a real person? He sounds like a wrestler in the WWE.
That's also a pretty good name.
Yeah.
No, but he had like red eyes and like sharp teeth and black hair. He kind of looked like the devil in a lot of ways. I was always terrified of that guy.
Was it like Sinestro or Sinistro or something?
Maybe we're combining two characters. But I just remember even flipping the pages and going like, ooh, I don't like it. Like,
just getting a little scared.
Like he's
back in the day before we had phones in our pockets.
Ugh.
Things like reading a book could actually scare you.
100%. You're just left with your thoughts, which is what phones created the void from. Like,
yeah.
Now we never have to be alone with our thoughts.
Do you remember going to get your hair cut? And like their systems also weren't as good because it wasn't the digital age. So you'd be waiting for like 35 minutes.
You just line up.
What were you doing?
Okay, I'm so glad you said this. I was at work today.
Yeah.
And as I often do, I put in headphones and I just kind of type. And that's the universal symbol of like, don't talk to me unless you have to.
Yeah.
And I just thought about people going to work and working on a typewriter and just sitting there with their thoughts all day.
Oh, God.
And I'm just like, what did you do? You just kind of like, well, and you're like thinking in your head, like, God, I hope, the war doesn't break out or so. I don't know.
But everything also took so much longer back then.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I need a photocopy. Now I just press a little button. You'd have to like retype out a whole thing and print it.
Yes.
Not even print. You wouldn't have to print.
You wouldn't have
you're
to
already putting ink on paper like by like punching it with a
like Ebenezer Scrooge.
By Ebenezer Scrooge.
And then you put it in a pneumatic tube and I had to go to the CEO. Oh my God, that was so cool.
We should bring those back.
We should.
That's better than emails. And obviously this is us just pontificating and talking about all the ins and outs of culture as we do because we are the two greatest video game podcasters that you've never heard of.
No.
And today we, the preeminent Marvel experts, as you can also tell by
as we named two characters when, do those exist? Do those two exist? I don't know.
We're going to take all of our, we mentioned at the top that it's going to be every single Marvel game. It's not going to be every one. It's going to be some of the most notable Marvel games because there are plenty of Marvel games.
Holy God.
And unless we could do a tier ranking for all of the X-Men game and all of the Spider-Man games alone as their own things. Spider-Man. All the Spider-Men.
Show me photos of Spider-Man. Love it.
So I'm excited to do that, Andrew. Before we get to our tier ranking, and obviously if you're out there listening at home, we want to hear the games that we missed. We want to hear which tiers the games that we talk about should have been on. But before we do, Andrew, I want to talk a little bit of gaming. Have you been playing anything?
Oh, Mikey. Recently? Sorry, I was just quickly Googling Mr. Sinister, and he is a real person. And
he's real. See, he is a real person.
He is a real person. Everyone's out there going, I don't know if he's a real person, guys. I'm starting to worry about you. He's real. Google says so. And he's very scary.
Can you show it to the camera?
Yeah, I'll show it to the camera.
God, he's very scary.
He's very scary. It's kind of almost, there's more It the Clown in there than I remembered. But
yeah, you can see that over on our YouTube channel if you're listening to us right now. It's youtube.com/retrograde podcast.
And then he got kind of sexy, and I didn't like that. Okay, I can't.
Wait, that one wasn't sexy?
Well, no, that's not my type. Well, we all have different types.
We all have different types.
Yeah, we all have different types.
I like fully clothed. I don't want to see an ounce of skin. I want frumpy.
You really missed your period, eh? Late 1800s, you were like, great. Everyone was
yes, Andrew, I'm pregnant. I missed my period.
Missed your period.
Yeah.
Are you there, God? It's me, Mikey. Let's bring that back. That movie did well. People like it.
I did. Bathing frocks down to your ankles.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Everyone's completely clothed. Am I playing video games? The answer is yes.
Oh, great.
I'm on this podcast because I'm playing video games.
100%.
And I was so ready. We had a little gap there between recordings, and I was so excited.
We were out in Las Vegas.
We were in Las Vegas together. Amazingly, didn't go to a arcade. That's the huge pinball arcade is there, and I always wanted to go.
I wanted to drag you there, but it was a busy time. It was a busy time.
We had to look after other people and stuff like that. If you and I went, we would go. We would 3 times.
Just spend our whole time. By the way, can I? Okay, actually, before you talk about the games you've been playing, I want to talk about something that I did in Vegas because it reminded me of video games.
Cool.
Okay. There is a place in Las Vegas called Area 15. No, I'm not dyslexic. It's called Area 15. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a warehouses full of art installations and museums and things like that. Just off the strip, which means it takes 4 hours to get there.
Yes.
And it's called Omega Mart. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people have probably heard about Omega Mart. If you haven't, I really recommend you look it up on YouTube just for sort of an introduction on what to do. Better yet, if you live in Vegas or around Vegas or you're visiting Vegas and you don't know what to do, don't look up anything about it and just go to Omega Mart. Legitimately one of the coolest experiences I've ever had going out and doing anything. I'm talking about like seeing movies. I'm talking about playing video games.
Wow.
It was wild. And the reason why I'm bringing it up now is because it had the element of environmental storytelling that you often experience in a video game like BioShock or Dark Souls or that sort of thing. It starts out, you walk into a supermarket and everything is just a little bit off. There's butter, but instead of, I can't believe it's not butter, it's called what is butter. Mm-hmm. There's like meat diagrams, but all the turkey has tattoos on them. There are staff working, like you're in a physical supermarket. There's staff working there and all the answers that they give you or things that they tell you are just a little bit strange.
Yeah.
You open like a fridge or something to like grab a drink and all of a sudden there's like a portal, like a doorway leading somewhere and you're like, the whole time you're like, am I supposed to be, is this part of the thing or is this an employee's only entrance to something? So you're always feeling a little bit off. You walk into the back, you're in this like factory / cave area. And as you work your way through, there's like buttons and phones with numbers on them. You can dial different numbers. There's workstations with computers and emails that you can sort through. And by doing so, similar to like BioShock getting an audio log, it tells the story of what's going on in this area and the history of how it got to be how it is, why everything is so weird. And it turns out there's like this whole Lovecraftian mythology to it where this town is being kind of subjugated by this corporation because they were like built on top of these old gods who are blah, 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 like fucking bonkers shit.
So cool.
And the whole time you have no idea what you're doing or why you're there or what's going on. And it was a wild experience and a wonderful experience. And it felt like living a walking sim video game. That's the closest way I can describe it. And I'd be remiss if I didn't bring it up because that's all I've ever wanted. It felt like an adult playground in the best sense of the world.
That's so cool. That's so cool. It sounded like such an awesome time. So that's amazing. I'm glad you guys did that. And yeah, please, if you're out in the Nevada area or you're traveling to Las Vegas, I know that might be only a small slight of you. It's not a very popular town.
Yeah.
You got to go. Yeah. It's like, you got to really out of the way and whatever. You might go to Henderson, take a little left and go to Las Vegas, visit there, lose all your money in your shirt. Playing video games. Yes. And so I was so excited for that little gap there. I was going, I can't wait to tell about all these video games I'm going to be playing. And everyone's going to know and they're going to love it. No, Fortnite had a Star Wars thing for May the 4th. And then immediately was like, well, I guess that's what I'm playing.
Yeah. Everyone seems to be playing that right now.
They did such a good job again of just organically making you want to, like, so there's these little holograms that you can come across. Yeah. Darth Maul one and Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think Anakin Skywalker is another one, whatever. And he's just
slaughtering nurseries full of baby Jedi.
Yeah, he's like holding little child's heads in his hand. And he's like, hey, do you want to learn the Force? And I'm like, yeah. And you step through the portal to come back with a lightsaber and with the ability to like force push
and
do stuff. And it is so much fun. And so, yeah, that's been a really boring way, and also playing MLB The Show. And, but unfortunately,
without lightsabers though.
Well, no, I cut balls in half. I just like slice them right down the middle. And they're like, good job.
That's still a foul ball though.
0-1. You're like, oh, God damn it. I always laugh at that. There's a Skechers ad that used to play forever about Joe Montana throwing a football. Like it's like step ups where he's trying to get in shape for an older person, which was what those shoes were trying to do. And he would throw a football just straight out of the stadium. And I'm always like, second down. I always, every time I watch it, I'm like, no, way to go, Joe. Second down. God, you had a guy open.
I like that. I like that a lot. It's amazing because Jedi Survivor came out.
Yes.
And I know more people playing Fortnite than Jedi Survivor.
Just cut the knees right out of them.
100%.
Like, I know.
Do you think it was supposed to be like, I know May the 4th, obviously, and they're releasing Jedi Survivor around then, you know, to two things.
Okay.
One,
you got really stressed there for a second.
Because this is always something that like a marketer will do and be like, pat myself on the back. What a great call. Do you think a single extra person bought Jedi Survivor because it came out around May the 4th?
No.
I
actually think putting them together is a bad idea.
Yes, 100%.
Because I think if you'd released it in February, let's say, and then May the 4th comes out, and then you can be like, Star Wars, half price or something like that. And you're like, whoa, and then you get a bunch of new people to buy it.
Yeah.
I don't think people were reminded the game came out because they're like, wait a second, is it May the 4th?
Yes, exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And yet someone got a bonus because of their thinking to release it on that
Money,
day.
please.
Money, please. Now, you, Andrew, you had Jedi Survivor on your list of anticipated games. I'm sure it's on your list of ones to play. Obviously, you were in Vegas, so you didn't have a ton of time to play it. Still in the cards for you?
I'm going to play it. Yeah. That'll be something we'll probably talk about very closely in the future because I played the first one.
Yeah.
And I liked it. Yeah. I don't know if I liked it as much as everyone. I shouldn't say that. I don't think people talked about Fallen Order like... I don't think it was universally praised as this is one of the best games of all time.
Nope, definitely not.
But some people really like it. Some people really like Star Wars. And
I played a lot of Fallen Order.
Oh, did you?
I did. I didn't love it. It was, again, it's tough when you're trying to be like a Dark Souls kind of game and the combat just isn't as good.
It really isn't. Like as much as you're able to do all the things that a Jedi does, I didn't feel powerful like a Jedi.
Sure.
And it to string things together was really kind of tough.
Yeah.
And so I just, the whole time I felt like I was fighting it.
Yes.
And so that being said, I'm still going to play the sequel. I've heard good things about it.
I've heard the combat has been streamlined in a way that it feels a little bit more fluid. The writing seems a little bit more punchy.
Cool.
It's kind of, you talk about, could they have released this game in February? It turns out no, because it's still littered with issues, especially on the PC. But I'm sure that'll be all. What a weird era of gaming we live in now, where all the best games are kind of unplayable. A little bit.
Oh, you wanted it. Here it is.
Yes,
and
exactly.
It's like, well, it's not finished.
Well, we didn't want it like that.
It's like the first level of GTA. You're like, I don't know, just have fun here, but everything else is blocked off.
Yes, exactly. Cool. Now, one thing I want to bring up, because I would be remiss if I didn't, Andrew.
Please.
Our TikTok was alight with people calling me things like dumb shit, dipshit, doesn't know a thing about gaming. This is the worst take I've ever heard, when I had the opinion that maybe we should start games out with the double jump if you plan on introducing double jump into the game at a later time. I've litigated this. I've relitigated it. It's not because I don't understand how progress gating works, especially in something like a Metroidvania, but I just think for a mechanic that is in just about every game, let's just balance games around double jump from the beginning and find other ways for gate progression, either different weapons or hook shots or something like that. Jedi Survivor comes out, and notably in Jedi Fallen Order, the prequel, double jump was something you unlocked very late in the game, and it was a lot of fun. In Jedi Survivor, double jump is there from the very beginning, and people fucking love it. People go out of their way in reviews to talk about why it's great to start with something like double jump rather than having your abilities pulled away for no good reason.
So you must have gotten lots of comments saying, we apologize, we were wrong.
Yeah, no,
I'm so sorry.
That's the way the internet works.
The internet is very responsible. They take a lot of accountability.
They do. They do. And I'm not, here's the thing.
Okay.
I'm not mad about it.
No.
At all.
Right.
And I don't even think about it. At all.
You don't think about it at all?
I've never thought about it.
You just brought it up, though.
No, you actually were the one who said, hey, have you played Jedi Survivor? You said that to me.
Right, yeah, I said that part. But then I didn't bring up the wrong on the internet, double jump, the whole thing.
No, you clued me into it. You looked at me in a way that said, do you remember that?
Yeah, right.
And I knew what you were, I picked up what you were laying down.
Right. I don't know the real meaning of this word, but I feel like I'm being gaslit.
Yeah, that's not a real word, Andrew.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I must have been wrong this whole time.
Yeah.
Just like you on the internet.
No, I'm excited. I'm going to wait for a discount on that game because I feel like maybe it'll be part of like PlayStation Plus or Game Pass or something at some point, or even if it goes on sale for like $20-$25, which will happen a year from now or so.
May 4th
next year. Exactly. But here's the thing, like it's a well-designed Star Wars game with good lore and good acting and all that stuff. And there's something about the sound of blasters and lightsabers. Yes. Every bit of endorphin just like runs into me. My serotonin is just released.
It doesn't take a lot for me to want to play a Star Wars game.
Right.
It actually is more amazing that they keep creating bad Star Wars games.
Yes.
That keeps me away from that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with what I was saying about Fortnite. It's just doing the bare minimum. And I'm like, hey, this is pretty good.
100%.
You know, like I just laugh so hard at the idea of like you sitting back and go like, that's some good lore. Jesus, you see this lore? This
lore's fucking crazy, man.
God, my guy with his lore, just Jesus.
My mom's named Lori, and that's my favorite lore I've ever seen.
If we're doing a tier ranking of lores, number 1, Star Wars. Second, mommy.
Yeah. Notably, just in terms of my gaming habits, I might wait until next episode to talk about it because we're running a little bit low on time. We want to get into our tier rankings here, but Case of the Golden Idol released DLC.
You just tweeted about this.
I just tweeted about it as of recording, obviously, where this is a couple weeks afterwards because we're posting this one a bit. So this Case of the DLC, Case of the DLC, Spider of Lanka DLC came out a couple weeks ago, and I've been playing it. I finished it. It's about 2 hours, 3 hours or something like that. It's a $7 DLC. It's not great. You know what? I'll talk about it now. Why not?
It's less than a Scorsese movie runtime.
Yes, exactly. And you pay $8 for it. It's fine. Now the problem is Case of the Golden Idol. I've talked about it at length before. If you're unfamiliar with it, it's essentially a game where you go around these tableaus, clicking on clues and gathering details and information based on notes in characters' pockets, books around the area, and you try to infer what has happened. There's usually a murder of some sort, and you're trying to solve it. It comes down to you having to use basically like a table of words, like fill in a Mad Lib sort of clues based on the clues you find in the environment, words, items, all that stuff to tell the story of what actually took place here. And winning the level, succeeding in the level, is using the correct adjectives and nouns in the areas of the Mad Libs to tell the story of what was depicted in the tableau. The main game was my favorite game.
Gotta release the main game.
Gotta release the main game, Andrew. And not in public this time.
No, that got a ticket.
The main game was, I think I rated as my favorite game of last year, of 2022. I think it was my number 1 game. So I was very excited for the DLC. Now, the problem with a puzzle game is you keep people's interest by ramping up difficulty. And I feel like the new missions that came out in the Spider of Lanka DLC are just a little bit too convoluted compared to what you have in the main game. So I was a little bit disappointed, but I stuck with it. Yep. I finished it. The story was satisfying and actually linked into the main story from Case of the Golden Idol in a pretty satisfying way. I figured it out. It felt a little bit overwhelming at times in a way that Case of the Golden Idol never did. But if you've played the main game, or drain the main vein, I really recommend you go out there and get the DLC. It's like $8, so you're not going to go wrong.
So there you go. So obviously the main game is a full recommend for you, and DLC is also getting a recommend.
Absolutely.
Oh, there we go. Fantastic recommendations for everybody out there. But Mikey, we came here for one reason.
We did. One reason.
And
it's your intervention, Andrew.
And it was what now?
I'd like to open up the door.
What the hell? Everybody.
Here are all of my
closets
friends.
Open up, doors, people on the roof.
Like, it's still just you in this room, Mikey.
Yeah. Like that episode of Barry, like this guy on the roof. Ooh, did I spoil something? No, that's a couple of weeks ago.
No,
That's a multiple weeks
and
ago.
also, a guy on the roof doesn't really spoil
the whole time, everyone's eyes are going to be trained to the roof the whole time.
Barry, what a fucking show.
What is it? Is it the best show on television?
I think it might be.
So I promise you, we haven't even talked about this, but I know we're going to do it. Yeah. When Succession and Barry end, I bet you we'll just have a TV roundup episode because we're going to be talking about 2 of the best shows of the last 10 years ending at around the same time. Yeah. And we got to talk about it. But man, Barry is good.
That's on our Patreon, patreon.com/retrograde podcast. It's $5 US per month, 2 bonus episodes per month, and a ton of fucking fun.
Oh,
what
so much fun
we've got going over there. And speaking of fun, Andrew, let's have some fun.
Let's do it.
Doing a tier ranking of the Marvel video games, the ones that have had the biggest impact on us. Now, before we do the ranking, do you want to go through and list the games that we're going to be talking about?
Yes. Can you also list the tiers and explain what that means to people?
Tiers are S, A, B, C, D. And there is an F tier if we want to use it.
If we want to do it.
If we want to use it.
So S is top.
S is top.
And then it goes from there.
A.
Oh, that would be next.
Yes.
Then after that is C.
C.
Which one did you say?
C.
C. Okay. Then B.
No, Andrew. B is before C. It's C, D. Can
you write it out just in case? Just in case,
I'll
like people at home.
Yeah, I'll write it on the board up here. I hope the camera's getting this.
Yeah, I hope so
it up
too.
on the chalkboard.
Oh, ABC. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, like the TV station. Okay.
After before Christ.
Yes. What a confusing timeline this is.
Well, no, here's the thing.
Jesus steps through a portal and he's like, I have so much to warn you about. And you're like, oh God.
I used to think BC and AD was before Christ and after death, which left a 33 year span that wasn't, so that should be.
It was without time. Dinosaurs roamed and
that should be ABC.
Right.
After before Christ.
After before Christ.
And then AD is after death.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. People don't know that TikTok, the talk stands for time of Christ.
That does.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not Anno Domini.
No, not at all.
That's not what
Absolutely
that
No.
means.
Wow. nice swing on that one. That was good.
Don't ask me what BC means.
So yes, tell us what games we're going to be ranking today.
Okay, we're going to be ranking X-Men, the arcade game. We're going to be ranking The Punisher, the arcade and Genesis game. Yeah. We're going to be ranking X-Men from the Genesis. We're going to be ranking Incredible Hulk on the Game Gear, a lesser-known title, but one that I played quite a bit. Marvel vs. Capcom 2, that's going to be a stand-in for the Marvel vs. Capcom franchise.
Makes sense.
Spider-Man, the 2000 version, which was on PlayStation, N64, Dreamcast. We've played that one on the podcast before. Spider-Man, based on the movie from 2002, which is a level-based beat 'em up featuring the voice of Tobey Maguire. Spider-Man 2, which was the movie game from 2004, which was the open world one, which is big. Incredible Hulk, Ultimate Destruction, Marvel Ultimate Alliance, which is also going to kind of include X-Men Legends and X-Men Legends 2, because those I see as kind of precursors to
and those
Marvel.
Two are two that we've done on the podcast last two. So.
Yes. Ultimate Destruction and Ultimate Alliance. You're right. Yeah. X-Men Origins Wolverine we will talk about. Marvel's Spider-Man from 2018. That's the Insomniac version. Guardians of the Galaxy. I said we could do a whole tier ranking on the Spider-Man game. So here it is.
Totally could. Yeah. We're putting a few in there.
Guardians of the Galaxy from 2021. Marvel's Avengers from 2020. And as a nice little add-on to it, Marvel Snap, the mobile game, and Lego Marvel Superheroes.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of games.
It's a lot of games. So why don't we get started, Andrew?
Let's do it.
Oh, and a little caveat. We know there's a glaring omission from last year in Marvel Midnight Suns.
Yes.
Andrew and I have not played that game as much as we really want to. We might make a point to do that later on. I love XCOM and that style of game. Andrew loves Marvel, and it just seems like it's right up our alley, but we're not going to be doing that one.
Yeah, I literally might go home and download that tonight. Like it's been on a glaring one on my list.
Yes.
Because there's so many of these games that I've not only played but beaten.
Yeah.
That I would have do. Did you miss Mr. Sinister's Sexy Adventure or? Are we doing that one?
You played that one too?
Oh yeah, 100%.
I thought that was just my fanfic.
Yeah, that's you.
That's me, Andrew.
Oh,
you're my one reader.
You're Colossus lick me up and down. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
I am Colossus lick you up and down. I can lift you up with my metal tongue, Andrew. It is a ride.
It's indestructible.
It's indestructible.
Ridden with STIs, but indestructible. It's funny enough. What is your favorite character to play? So all these things from Marvel.
Oh, great
There's a reoccurring trend of some Avengers, X-Men, and Spider-Man. If there's a multiple choice here?
Oh my God, that's a great question.
What character are you going towards?
This is going to be, and this has always been the case for me. I like to find myself a little Creole love in Gambit, baby.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, Gambit has always been my favorite X-Men. Yeah, down to the bayou.
What are you going down to? Come on, alligators. Sorry.
Did you just give your answer? What was that?
I always do my Cajun guy, which is always just me going like, say a couple words, something unintelligible, and then laugh for a bit.
Alligator.
You want to be coming down here, going to us. You know.
Now,
I just
Andrew,
the happiest
what about
people in the world.
You also do a really good Asian accent. Give us that
100%.
one.
Okay, so hello, my name is Derek. I'm an Asian American, and I'm having a great time.
Well done.
Yeah. Colossus is mine. That's why I said it.
Oh, yeah?
I
Nice.
always go towards Colossus. I think his powers kind of naturally transition really well into video games.
Yeah.
And it's just something like he was a character of mine that I loved from the video game, from the comic books. So I always have gone to that. It's funny we both did X-Men and not one of the more famous X-Men.
Yeah, I think we've had our fill with all the other ones.
Yeah,
like we could have played as any of them, right? Like we played as Storm, we played as Wolverine, we played as Cyclops. Yeah, Cyclops is fun though.
Cyclops is fun. Projectile, I like projectile video games in general, like or characters in video games. And I'm so excited for X-Men '97 that's going to be coming out on Disney. It is the reliving of the not reliving, it's the continuation of the video game, of the animation. Jesus Christ, Andrew. Cartoon.
Oh, yes.
From our childhood. They're not restarting it. They're continuing where they left off.
Unbelievable.
Oh, that's my God. Fantastic.
Are you going to rewatch it all from the beginning? Who's got time for that?
Yeah, exactly. I've got so much Barry in Succession to watch.
Yes. We're going to be buried in TV content, Andrew. And what a grave it is.
With a smile on my face.
That seems like something we could do on the Patreon as well. So, Andrew, let's start from the beginning. Okay. The beginning of this list, X-Men Arcade.
BC, yeah.
This is the one, obviously, from... Sorry?
I said BC. Sorry. Before the beginning of time. Yes.
Yeah, of course. 1992 on the arcade. You could play as Cyclops, Colossus, Wolverine, Storm, Nightcrawler, and Dazzler. Now, Dazzler is one I did not remember being able to play as in that one.
Dazzler was before Jubilee.
I was going to say, similar concept.
Similar, yeah. And actually, there's funny enough, if you go back and watch some of the newer X-Men movies, Dazzler is like a pop star.
Oh, cool.
So you can kind of see her albums in things or posters for Dazzler.
Nice.
Which is really cool. I absolutely loved this video game. I'm just going to start by saying, if it's like the Chuck E. Cheese before Dave & Buster's, because that's around the age that you played this.
Yep.
This was in that beat 'em up genre with The Simpsons and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and was something I always went to really fast. I loved this game.
I was going to ask, small breakout tier ranking, Simpsons.
Oh, Mikey.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
If Sophie had 3 children.
Was there one of those that spoke to you the most?
You know what's funny? If you'd asked me what's my favorite, I think what's my favorite and what I played the most are actually 2 different questions.
Okay.
I have to say The Simpsons.
Yeah, Simpsons is great.
Just because also if you're asking me what are my favorite between these 3, it's also like really tough, just topic wise.
Yeah.
But The Simpsons I think was number 1, and I think it was X-Men, then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Wow. No, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is my number 1 for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. It just resonated with me so much more than anything else at the time. Yeah.
Being a large freak that everyone wants to kill, or
just the green skin, the scaly nature of myself, the fact that I love being in sewers and I talk
best
to
friend with
every
a rat
I see. Also, I am a turtle and want to fuck human women.
There we go.
And they want to fuck me back, it turns out.
If somebody wore a yellow rain jacket, like that yellow trench coat that April O'Neil wore.
Yeah.
I think there is a real like sense memory thing to that. Speaking of Jubilee
as well.
Yeah. Where you're like, oh, hello.
I was thinking, what if someone wore a yellow rain jacket and climbed out of a sewer with like a bow staff in her hand?
Did you kill Donatello? You have to tell me. I'm a cop. So I'm already kind of in the bag for this game.
Okay.
I would lean pretty high with this.
Now, here's one thing that we can always do. We can always shift around once we assign a tier.
Yes.
We can always move things around. Do we want, is this your peak or is this A tier?
In my mind, I would keep it warm in A tier.
Okay.
Because I want to preserve the S tier as a very, very like hollowed ground.
I agree as well.
And then at the end, if we go, we have only one S tier, I'm like, I have no problem with it being S tier. But I just kind of want to.
Because I kind of think of these tier rankings as bell curves. I think S tier should be special, like 2, 3,
I would agree with you. Yes.
Maybe. So for now, I agree. Let's put that in the A tier.
All right.
I'm happy with that. Now, the Punisher on arcade and Genesis, I think you had a slightly more limited experience with it.
Yeah. I was going to say, you got to sell me a little bit on this one.
The Punisher was a game that I got on Genesis, and I don't know how I was allowed to rent it. It was probably before ESRB. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was, but it was a...
Thanks, Hillary.
Jesus. Jeez.
Well, no, it was after his death.
It was AD.
It was 80. It was 1990, whatever.
He had nothing to do with it.
No, he would wash his hands clean of that.
And John Baptist would wash his feet clean of that.
What a Judeo-Christian podcast we have. You can talk about this too. You used to really love The Punisher.
There was which is such a weird thing to say because I'm not talking about 5 years ago when the TV show was on. I'm talking like as a child.
Yeah.
I loved The Punisher.
It is a weird thing to like now, considering the co-opting of the character and the symbol and stuff like that.
Well, I think it makes much more sense to like now.
Yeah. Well, okay. real talk, he would be a white nationalist. He really
100%.
It's no coincidence that like Nazi groups are like, we like the Punisher symbol, and the Punisher's like, and I like you. Like, it does feel like there is a connection between the two.
It really does. I just think,
where was the Punisher on January 6th? Storming the Capitol.
He was in there before they even got started.
Excuse me, standing up for our freedoms and our rights. Oh, that's good. I'm never going to run for office. This is fantastic.
Yeah, no, we're well
I can't wait to argue one day. I'm like, I was joking.
I love the idea that it's like, you can't run for office because you talked about the Punisher storming the Capitol.
Pros, wants to help improve the education system. Cons, likes the Punisher.
I do, and I did. And the weirdest thing about the Punisher is, like, as a kid, you would like, it makes sense to like Gambit. Yeah, he's just kind of this cool, bad like boy. Sexy bad boy. He can put kinetic energy in a card and huck it at someone, and like the explosions, and he's agile. The Punisher just like loved guns. He loved guns. And the thing about this game is it was just a bunch of people shooting you and you getting like a machine gun and shooting right back at them. You didn't have a power. You weren't Nightcrawler. Yeah. You weren't Wolverine. You were just a guy with a gun, and I fucking loved it. And this game came with, talking about co-opting weird images, a tattoo for the Punisher's skull. Yeah. And I tattooed it on my neck.
You're on a list somewhere.
I was in kindergarten when this happened.
Nice.
Imagine seeing a kindergartner biking around your neighborhood with a skull tattooed on his neck.
Oh, that kid's going to steal my bike.
And he did.
Yeah. You know what's so funny just about that character, because the Marvel world in general, which we love Marvel. We grew up, we love DC, but we love comic books in general. And what I've always loved really about Steve Ditko and the lead, sides of Marvel is that it was all an allegory for something. You know what I mean? Magneto and the Holocaust, or or being gay, or some secretive part of your life, and not feeling welcome and stuff like that. And that's what's always great about Marvel. Then there's the Punisher, who has his family killed by guns, and he goes, my family's killed by guns? I'll show you who's the best at guns. It's me. Going like, wait, what? Why? Oh my God.
I can reload faster than you all.
Oh, you're going to kill my family. I'm going to kill all your families. What the hell? So strange. It's so superficial considering everything else they talk about.
It seriously is. I also like the idea, like, his name is the Punisher, but like when I was a kid, punishment was like spankings. And that's what I was hoping for out of the Punisher. Just like, Kingpin.
He's so big. I'll think about those meaty spankings he's going to give me.
Give me those poor cocks. Bring them over here. Set them on my lap. I don't need this one to be high, but I did need to bring it up because it was very impressionable to me and left clearly a great memory. The one thing I will on my neck, it's still there. Yeah. The one thing I'll say about this game that I think a lot of people will look past when it comes to Marvel games is violence. And it has that when a lot of other Marvel games don't. And sometimes, like Andor to the Star Wars universe, like sometimes real violence can actually add something, another level of enjoyment to an IP that otherwise doesn't have it. Is the Punisher the one for it? I don't know. But at a time when violent games were pretty prominent, it felt cool to see Marvel characters doing violent things.
I agree with you, because it is one of the few characters you can just put that into that world, and you don't need to change the character that much. To be honest, even when you go back and look at the first Captain America and he's holding a gun, you're like, what the hell?
Yes.
So like, that feels odd. Yeah. He's shooting people.
Batman used to use guns too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, man, looking from the origin of that character to where it is now, you're like,
wildly
different. The hell?
Wildly different. Way cooler back then.
Way cooler. He's just a guy pissed off and taking out vengeance.
Just a billionaire who gave away all his money and became a billionaire again. Or at that time, he probably had like $100,000, but he was the richest guy.
The richest man. Like, he's just whistling with his cane down the street. I was like, whoa. Money bucks.
So excuse me?
Money bucks?
Money bucks?
I was trying to think of, what's the character from Annie?
Daddy Warbucks?
Daddy Warbucks.
Yeah.
Is the origin of that name? Do you think he's like a war profiteer?
Probably.
Wow. Respect to my king. Yeah, hello.
You say with your Punisher shirt on, your blue and black United States flag with the Punisher logo where the stars should go.
Yeah. Wow.
Punisher, I'm just gonna set this one comfortably in C right
okay,
now.
All right.
Yeah. I could have an argument for B, but I don't need to get too much into it. Now,
we'll give ourselves a couple minutes at the end to like negotiate things.
I think so. Okay, X-Men on the Genesis from 1993.
I'm glad we're talking about this.
Here's a weird little bonus tidbit of information.
Sure.
You and I, Andrew, did this game on the Retrograde very, very early on. Yes. So early on that it never saw the light of day.
Exactly. It was one of our practice episodes to see if we should do this. Now, you might be sitting at home and going, Wow, they continued on. Yeah. But here we are. Okay, this is one of the first video games I ever owned.
Okay.
So it's really important to me. I got it when I was 7 years old.
Oh, wow.
And I loved the X-Men. And I was, also, I didn't know anything. My parents didn't know anything. Yeah. So they're like, well, he likes the X-Men. Here's an X-Men video game. This should shut him up. Little did I know that I would be walking into what IGN described as what number is it? It is, okay, IGN named this game in its 15 really, 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 really hard video games list, citing unfairly placed enemies, ridiculously annoying jumps, and near to impossible beat bosses, as well as the lightly pressed Genesis reset button in Mojo's Crunch. That was one of my...
What does that mean?
I guess you had to reset constantly because you were terrified you were going to lose. As well as the need to lightly press the Genesis reset button in Mojo's Crunch. I actually never got there.
That sounds like a level where you have to lightly press it in order to succeed. That's too much for me.
Here's an important part. I never got that far to figure that out.
Not even close.
And what is terrible about this is how the hell was I supposed to know? I probably was just playing a video game going, man, video games are tough.
Yes.
But, I don't know the difference.
We talk about that all the time on this podcast where we just assumed that video games were really hard, but it turns out a lot of them their difficulty came in their unplayability at some point. Video games making the jump from arcade to console, we just didn't know any better. We thought that every game had to be hard because arcade games were hard for the purpose of getting quarters out of your pocket. Yeah. This had that mentality to it, but it was such an unfun game. I remember getting attacked from enemies off screen all the fucking time.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up.
And it was,
in the first level with the jungle, there's people with spears. And doesn't matter where you are, those spears are coming. You have to figure out how you're doing it. It was so hard, but what I did really like about it is you could use the powers. There was a power bar, unfortunately, which kind of sucks. It's so stupid. But there was also it was one of 5 characters only that you could play. I could play as my beloved Colossus,
and you could play as Gambit as well.
And you could play as Gambit, who was very agile. And so your abilities changed because I remember very clearly in the before screen, the loading screen, it was athleticism, Olympic level. Superhuman, whatever. And so it was a nice little precursor to going I know these characters a little bit more now. And then the other one is you had characters that could kind of swoop in and help you, like Jean Grey and a few other ones. And I thought that was really great. Ultimately, though, holy God, was this game hard.
It was so hard.
I just wanted to make sure we had a chance to talk about it so there's some representation.
And I thought also not good. No. I thought it was a bad game, not just because it was difficult, but don't put me in the role of even Gambit as the most agile one. The game was so fucking slow. It moved at a snail's pace. Yeah. The sprites were so big compared to the rest of the screen, and you'd be making jumps to land on something that was off screen and just have to figure it out once the screen shifted there. No thanks. I did not love this game. And in terms of a tier ranking, Andrew, I'm wagering a D on this one.
I'm giving it a D.
Okay.
I'm naming it so we can D it. I'm totally fine with that.
Good.
I was going to say the other thing that you brought up that I forgot about, you could play as 2 players. Well, that's great. That's awesome. But you're fighting for screen. So you're pushing back and forth to where the screen is.
And I think you could damage the other player if I'm not mistaken. That was a big thing back then as well.
Yeah, you and I in the beginning of this podcast used to fight about this.
Battletoads was not a good time.
Yeah, that was nearly quitting time. And that was episode 30 or something like that.
Okay, Incredible Hulk on the Game Gear.
Sure.
This is one I'm going to take the stage on.
Let me know.
This is the definition of a company that gets the title for a video game, the license for a video game, based on a property, and just doesn't understand the property itself. In this game, you could, like Mario would, grow into a bigger version of yourself. In that case, it was the Hulk. But there were also little underground passages that you would have to turn yourself back into Bruce Banner in order to get into them. And Bruce Banner had a gun in this game. It was fucking bonkers. It made no sense. When you were the Hulk, though, it was cool. You could pick people up. There were these combos you can do, uppercuts. It's on the GameCube, or sorry, the Game Gear. So the graphics were actually pretty good.
Okay.
But the game was fucking hard, and there were moments when you're Bruce Banner and you're just the last thing I want to play a video game as is Bruce Banner, notorious cuck Bruce Banner. I don't want to play as Bruce Banner. I want to be Big Daddy Hulk.
I don't want to be Jekyll. I'd rather be Hyde.
No, wait.
Yes, Dr. Jekyll. Yes,
Mr. Hyde.
Mr. Oh, yeah.
Because he's got to hide his true identity.
Why do we keep titling these people Mr. Sinister, Mr. Hyde? It's well, thank you, sir. I need to treat you with respect.
Doctor. Yeah, what should we get? Esquire? Hyde Esquire?
Esquire. Yeah. I like that.
I think it's just because back then, we just had a better sense of formality. We respected our elders.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So Bruce Banner turns into the Hulk. The Hulk reaches into his pocket and there's a gun. What the hell's that all about? Does he look at it and go like, what the hell? Like, you know?
That's a great point. Why doesn't he use it?
And then
well, he can't fit his fingers in the
I guess so. I guess that's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Because you just imagine, oh God, it's the Incredible Hulk. Oh God, he's got a gun. Like, now you're running. Oh God.
That's a great point. Yeah. A game that forced you to play as, like, imagine you had to play as like Wolverine before he got adamantium in his bones.
Steve Rogers before he got,
exactly. That's
plays weak little Steve Rogers.
Yeah, the scientist Tony Stark. Like, no thanks. I want to put this one in the D rating as well, but I did want to bring it up because it was just a bit of a strange one.
What a bananas game.
What a bananas game indeed. And we're not talking Donkey Kong.
No, we're not.
What we are talking, though, with this next game is still a bananas game, but a perfectly ripe banana, and one that slipped right into my heart.
Okay. Slipped right into your heart. Okay.
Like my blood clot recently.
Yes. It was a scary couple weeks.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2 from 2000, Andrew. What was the platform you played this game on? Do you remember? Arcade.
Yeah, arcade. There was an arcade that I used to travel on by the subway all the time, and I used to play there. And this was always the one that had a little bit of like an audience.
Oh, nice!
People loved this game.
Did you get good at this game?
No, not very intentionally. If I won, it was pure luck.
So, have you ever played a fighting game where you were like memorizing combos and using them, or did you always just kind of button mash? Because I'll say you're good at button mashing.
Yeah, life looks favorably upon me.
I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know.
If it is a skill, you're good at it.
If oh my God, that is going to be on my tombstone. If blind luck was a skill, Andrew was fucking Leon Messi. I don't think I ever have. Mortal Kombat was the closest we ever had to it because that was the game that I played most as a kid. But that information has been reset from my brain,
and
much like Mojo's Crunch.
Much the soft reset.
Yeah, soft reset.
Much. The reason I think for that in Mortal Kombat is because you had to learn combinations in order to do the fatalities, which were 90% of why you played Mortal Kombat.
100%.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2, though, I played a shit ton of this game. I got it on the Dreamcast. I loved it. I remember you at this point in our lives, because you and I would play games back then, were much more of a comic fan. You knew the Marvel characters a lot better than I did. I had an awareness of a lot of them.
Sure.
But I remember you loving Spider-Man, for example,
I love Spider-Man.
and Iron Man, and me not really knowing who Iron Man was. Was Iron Man and Spider-Man, is that a combination that you used?
Yeah, that would be a combination I used. It was usually big and small.
Yeah.
It was usually like a Juggernaut or a Hulk or something like that, and then a Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So you could find some kind of balance between the two. So obviously, like we said, this is the standing version that we're using for all three games.
Yes.
So if we're using characters or stuff that's in one, not the other, that's why.
Yeah, that's true. And neither of us, I at least, don't have much experience with Marvel vs. Capcom 3, but I know that the peak of the franchise is 2 anyway.
Yeah, I played a little bit of 3, but nothing with any regularity. Those were the ones I played. But you're right. I used to love this, and what I loved about, I used to love the Marvel comics so much. I still do. But is that what I really loved about this game was that there was more references to really real characters instead of the ones you just saw in a cartoon.
100%.
Which I loved. I used to love that part because this was one of the few brief parts until the MCU dominated movies where you could get references to this and you're like, oh my God, they've got this guy. Oh my God, it's so cool.
Did you play any of the Capcom characters in that game or never?
Not
even Mega Man.
I drew the line in the sand. I was on Team Marvel.
I did like Marvel, don't get me wrong. Cable was my dude in that game.
Oh, of course.
I loved Cable because he could shoot from I beat the whole game by going, I've told this 1,000 times on the podcast, but you go all the way to the left side of the screen. He had one move where he would just fire his gun to the right side of the screen. And I beat the whole game with Cable doing that. Yeah. All enemies on like a pretty significant difficulty as well. You just stun lock them. It was great. I remember though liking some of the Capcom characters and I liked the ability to explore. Now IP crossover is so common for us.
Yes.
But like back then, even internal IP, even getting just all the Marvel characters in there and never mind the Capcom ones was such a spectacle. I think about this game all the time.
Yeah.
This is one that I'm almost certain has to end up in S tier.
That is exactly what I want to. 100%. You're right. It's funny about the IP thing because now everyone, you should justifiably roll your eyes every time they're like, and then this happened. You're like, yeah. Okay, we're getting a Beast Wars Transformer movies. I loved Beast Wars as a kid, but it's still like, okay, it feels very cheap now.
Yeah.
Whereas this felt like a fever dream.
It really did.
This one, we talk about this all the time. This is like one that they're like, hey, Andrew, we made a video game for you.
Yes,
And you're like,
exactly.
what? Really? Me? Okay.
Yeah. You felt very seen at that point. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so S tier.
Absolutely.
There you go. Spider-Man. Now, within our tier ranking, I think we almost have to bell curve the Spider-Man games as well.
I agree with you.
I think we should try to find a way so that no Spider-Man game is in the same tier.
Okay.
Do you agree with that?
I think that's
just
fair.
so we can separate it out to show the variations of the different Spider-Man games. This one we're talking about now is from 2000. It came out on the PlayStation, N64, and Dreamcast. It's the version we played on the podcast. Do you have any memory of what we ranked this game when we did it?
No, not at all.
8.5 total score.
Oh.
The idea of the game, it's funny because when I thought about the game, I was like, oh, I liked that game.
Right.
But I do also remember it having its own difficulties, it being very kind of stunted in a way. The difficulty felt a little strange. I remember we got to the boss battle with the lizard guy. Was it Electro?
Lizard. The lizard.
Maybe the lizard.
Yeah.
It's like pretty early on in the game and just being like getting so close to the end and dying and being like, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes. It was like a chase thing too, right?
There was a chase element to it, and then you beat him up in an office building or something like that. You're just hucking desks at him as Spider-Man does.
I think it was Fist Tower. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So I had an appreciation for this game. I liked Spider-Man, but it's 2000. It's not Spider-Man as of the comic movies, like as of like that's Tobey Maguire, and this was a little bit before then, so I couldn't even like read into the experience as much as my love for Spider-Man. What are your thoughts on this?
I would agree with you. This is not going to be near the top because you've listed them out. I already have a little bit in my head of where I'm placing some of them.
Yeah.
The problem is the bottom C and D. That's going to be an interesting one. In my mind, S is kind of reserved already. But
I agree. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Yeah. Let's talk about S right now.
Okay, because we can just knock this off.
Obviously, we're talking
The Punisher. Wait, no. What are we saying?
No, we're talking Insomniac's 2018 Spider-Man game / Miles Morales.
So we're combining those two because we didn't think it'd be fair to split them up because then we're like 2 S tiers.
And plus, Peter Parker and Miles Morales work so well together.
Yeah, they're best friends.
Don't split them up.
So that is going to be an S tier to me.
Yes.
I think it is the greatest video game of all. Greatest
all time.
Marvel.
You heard it from Andrew. He thinks it's the greatest video game of all time.
Like there's worse opinions out there, but I think it's the greatest Marvel video game of all time. I think it best composes the idea of the comics of like quip, fun stories that doesn't get in the way and is actually organic to the game. And then on top of that, the gameplay's fun too. Yeah,
there is an argument, I do not believe this, but I think there's an argument you can make that either something like Midnight Suns or Ultimate Alliance might be the best of all Marvel game of all time, just because it incorporates what we imagine a comic book being like with the crossover of different players and items and stuff. I don't agree with that, but Ultimate Alliance did something very interesting when it came out. I agree with you though that Spider-Man, in my opinion, is the best Marvel game that's ever come out. Storytelling is fucking unbelievable. The graphics are amazing. Insomniac can do no wrong in my books, including Resistance Fall of Man. And I'm going to give this one the S if you're on that.
I completely agree with you. I think the greatest thing we can say about it too is, as a lifelong lover of the animation and the comics and the movies and all this kind of stuff, this might be the greatest representation of Spider-Man in any media. Like it gets Spider-Man to its heart. It's like really good. And so I love this. It's easy S tier for me.
Love that. I love that as well. Just quickly, Spider-Man versus your favorite of the Batman games.
Oh, that is tough. Because spiritually, they're very similar.
They are. They are very similar.
The combat style and stuff like that, the chain combat is very similar. Oh, man. I think... Oh, wow. That's way harder than I thought. It's almost like every time then there's a new layer and my brain light resets Mojo Crunch.
The one thing you can't take away from it is traversing the city as Spider-Man is just one of the greatest feelings in gaming.
Totally. And it's so much so that Batman had to like create the Batmobile to go like, okay, wait, you can't just float to every building.
The Batmobile, or like you can use the grappling hook, which was a ton of fun. I actually really liked that. My choice would be one of the Batman games, either Arkham Asylum, the first one, because it was so new at the time, or Arkham Knight, which I really liked.
It's funny. Arkham Knight's great. I love that game. I think I'm going to go Spider-Man. And maybe that just comes down to your own preference.
Yeah, like, I think so. Yeah. I'm gleaning a lot of Batman from it. Yes. Batman is my fucking jam. Did you know that about me?
I've never heard that. I'm waiting for the next tattoo that you get, and I'll be like, oh, that's Batman, isn't it?
Oh, I don't hate it.
No, but like okay, so this is now we're just having a private conversation.
Yeah, okay.
What you need to do is do the not reference Batman.
Yes.
Where it's no, if you don't know Batman.
Calendar Man.
Yes. It's Calendar Man. The Mad Hatter.
Or just like one of Zane's marks on his skin that's like.
Totally. It's got to be the thing that if you know, you know. And if you don't, you're like, that's good artwork.
Yes,
you know, like,
exactly. Kind of like my Anna tattoo a little bit.
Yeah.
Looks just
not like my Bart Simpson tattoo.
I love that Bart Simpson tattoo. Again, we're doing a lot of showing
yes.
over on the YouTube channel, but so S tier for Marvel Spider-Man,
yes,
and for Batman Arkham Knight.
So
Batman Arkham Knight.
Yeah, Bartman's there too. So okay, so we got S done.
So
now we need to figure out the rest of the Spider-Man.
Okay, so we have 3 more. So that means it's either A, B, C, D, or F.
Yeah.
I don't know that we have to put an F for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So A, B, C, or D. We've got 3.
Do you think there's an A in there?
Yes, I do actually.
Okay.
And my pitch for the A is going to be Spider-Man 2, the movie game, because it was the first time we had an open world swinging around a fully realized Manhattan Spider-Man game.
I would agree with you because that game is so good and so important and also one of the best comic book video game movies of all time.
Yep.
But I will say, can we talk about the voice acting for a second?
Yeah, it's not great, Bob.
Not great, Bob. Indeed, like it's like Tobey Maguire had just woke up or had no idea what he was doing.
Yes, and Tobey Maguire's track record for voicing Spider-Man in video games in general is not great, Bob.
No, that's not. Yes,
because you also have the 2002 Spider-Man movie game where he voices it, and that's the one where you get all the memes where it's just him walking around like a rooftop or something like that. The purse has been moved.
Oh, the purse is. Oh, lady, the purse is on the other roof. It's like so crazy. And then that's also the game where you get the, oh my God, I'm going to die. Which makes me laugh every time that when you fail and there's this woman surrounded by fire that you're supposed to save and she realizes you're not going to save him. It's a cutscene that goes through and goes, oh my God, I'm going to die. It kills me.
I love that.
I'll have to tweet that out.
The Spider-Man though, Spider-Man 2 based on the game, I'm pitching that as A tier because we had not seen an open world Spider-Man game before. It was the first time you got swinging from building to building. And that to me was worth the price of admission. I remember the first time I did that. Open world games back in 2004 when it came out were still kind of a novelty, not quite, but the idea of traversing an open world by any means other than just driving a car was new. And the fact that it was like, if you ask 10 people what the most fun superpower looks like, it's either flying or swinging like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Or going invisible and entering locker rooms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Voyeurism. Yeah. Truly predatory behavior.
Yeah.
Reading minds is like, people say that sometimes, or invisible walking through walls.
Oh yeah.
I think that would be a curse as much. Like a monkey's paw would close when you do that.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think my favorite superpower though would be Zaz from Batman. Just the ability to murder people in cold blood and not feel bad about it.
I think, just having no emotion. You're like, I relate to that guy for some reason. I'm okay with A. I think that's a good ranking. It is an important game. As much as I don't know how great it is now, but it's an important game. And
even at the time, it was only really rated like an 80% on Metacritic. So it isn't like phenomenal, but I think just in terms of what it did for the realization of open world games, building a Manhattan that was like Manhattan is very impressive for the time.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Okay.
So now Spider-Man, the N64 one, I'm proposing we put that in, I'm going to say C tier.
Yeah, that's the one I had in my head too.
Okay.
I don't have a lot of argument for that. It's a good game. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
It's not one of the best. And especially when it's competing against so many other Spider-Man games.
Yes.
In relation, you're like, see.
Yeah. Okay, so then let's go for Spider-Man, the movie game. Was a level by level beat 'em up, but a lot of people did really like it. I would pitch that one as B.
Yep.
I think that kind of works. I don't think we need to go to a D, although there are D Spider-Man games for sure.
That we're just not listing.
On this one. These were kind of the best of the Spider-Man games that we brought up. There are Shattered Dimensions, I think, that I actually didn't play, but I know a lot of people liked that. But that's kind of where we're going to sit for these ones.
Okay, there we go. I feel good about that.
Good.
That wasn't that bad of a fight.
No. Yeah. And it kind of, everything kind of worked. I was worried when I saw the number of Spider-Man games. I'm like, how do we, what do we do here? Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction. Speaking of kind of an open world kind of scenario, we did this one on the podcast as well.
And we liked it.
We did.
I remember when we played the game, you had said, I like this game. I remember liking this game. And I was kind of like, yeah, I've played it, but I don't remember it having a big thing. And then when we played it, you're like, fuck yes. It is so close to like open world Rampage.
Yes.
Which is, of course you want to play as the Hulk. You just want to ruin shit. And they give you complete license because they're on a military base to like, don't worry. You could just destroy stuff.
You can do whatever you want. Yeah, I was looking up to see what our listing was, and for some reason we don't actually have the score there. But I do remember liking it quite a bit. I thought that as a character who I kind of don't care much about, like, does the Hulk mean much to you?
No, it's except when you do like Planet Hulk, like that series in the comics is really, really good. But that only came later in life, and by the time I was playing this game as a kid, I don't know. I thought he was always so one note, and he was used as the villain a lot in comics. Against Wolverine or against, which was the opposite. But you don't come at me. But he was like the all powerful guy. No one wants to cheer for the all powerful guy. You got to cheer for Spider-Man who's fighting him and stuff like that.
Sure.
So no, I didn't have a ton of emotion.
Yeah, same. It's also by nature he's so monstrous.
Yes.
Unless you really, take to, for whatever reason, the notorious cuck Bruce Banner.
Yeah. Or you mean David Banner?
Or David Banner.
So.
Yeah, what is the story again?
Okay, I know somebody came at me from not being true, but the rumor has always been that it's Bruce Banner in the comics, it's Bruce Banner now in the MCU. But when they did the TV show with Lou Ferrigno, they changed it to David Banner because the name Bruce had a homosexual connotation that they were running from.
Really?
Yes, that is the rumor. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. And if true, shame on all of you.
Let's ask Lou.
Let's ask Lou?
Because he seems like he would be okay with someone insinuating that he might.
You say that. He would be the easiest interview of all time because he seems to want to talk to anybody about the Hulk. We could get him on our little humble podcast.
Let's do it.
Yeah, done.
Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction, kind of level based, but with some open world, like you said, like Rampage. When you get momentum in the game, which takes some, it's almost like Tony Hawk. Like if you're not good at it, then you're going to find yourself bumping up against things and falling and this and that. But when you do find momentum in this game, it feels really good.
Really good.
The whole thing, which was an interesting take on the Hulk, it wasn't Hulk smash, it was Hulk go fast. And I thought that the speed, the jumping, that was like, that's the Hulk that was good for video games. And that's the kind of thing that will make someone like the Hulk, a real person like the Hulk, a better video game protagonist than someone like Superman who just has like a win button at his disposal no matter what.
See, this is kind of an important thing that I know we're going to get to in the next couple of games here. And I think maybe even is a reference to the past too, is that a big part of playing these games is you want to feel powerful.
Yes.
You are a superhero. You should be able to feel that power and kind of feel like you're in some level of control, but like have that power over the game. This is one of those games where you do feel powerful.
Yeah.
And some of the games coming up where they failed to do that.
Yep.
I think it's really important that gets like, that's some kind of star on it.
I agree. And I'll point to the Punisher thing that I said, where it felt good to have a Marvel property that was a little bit violent in a franchise spectrum that typically isn't. It felt very good in Ultimate Destruction to be able to destroy property in a franchise spectrum, which otherwise typically doesn't allow you to do so. Yes. I'm going to pitch, I'm thinking it might be B territory, but I'm comfortable with it going in A because of how ahead of its time it was and how creative they got with the license of the Hulk.
Yeah, I had B in my head the whole time, but if you want to put A for now.
No, I actually thought you were going to fight for A, so I'm totally good with B.
Okay, B. Okay, let's put it B it is, yes. Okay, I'm good with that.
So we're good with B. That goes in with Spider-Man, the movie, the Tobey Maguire version from 2002. Marvel Ultimate Alliance is the next one on our list. This is, again, going to be drawing inspiration from X-Men Legends and X-Men Legends Rise of Apocalypse or something was the second one. This was the span of 2004 to 2006 where 3 of these games came out. Ultimate Alliance being the third one in 2006. So Ultimate Alliance, what?
Just 3 games in a 2-year span. It's really like kicking ass.
Yeah, honestly, people they got the formula and it fucking worked. And a lot of people really loved this.
The guy getting the call, like the first one goes down, he turns around, he goes, guys, we need to make more. Get back to work.
We have more licenses now. It's not just the X-Men. We got to expand.
Yeah, exactly.
Ultimate Alliance. Do you have much of a history with this game?
Yeah, we played it on the podcast.
Yeah, we did.
And I did play quite a bit of it. Now, here's the difference. I remember playing it as a kid and kind of going, huh.
Yes.
And then we played on the podcast and I was like, wait, this is better than I remember. What was wrong with me as a kid? Answer, lots. But is that, I don't know where to split the middle here a little bit. As an adult, I probably have a better opinion because I play more games. So I would venture to say it's a pretty good game, but it's still in the back of my head. I remember it not liking it.
Well, it's funny. So our scores were, our retro score combined was a 4 and our current score was a 5.5.
Wow.
So we liked it more in the modern day, a total of a 9.5. So higher than the Spider-Man game. Not amazing, but still worth considering. And I want to give it a bit of credence because it's the type of game that you or I don't necessarily gravitate towards.
Yes.
But I know a lot of people do. And if they do, this game is great for them.
Yeah.
So I almost want to give it a bit of a bump because of that, because it's like if we're talking about a fighting game, I mean, obviously we did Marvel versus Capcom, but you and I are not fighting game characters.
Yeah, we're not fighting boys.
We're not fighting boys. Not street fighting men.
No, we're pacifists.
We're pacifists, exactly. And
except for a brief period where you like the Punisher.
Not brief, Andrew. I still do. I bleed whatever color he bleeds.
A thin blue strip. Thin blue line.
It depends on did you get my arterial blood? Because if you did, it might be blue. So Ultimate Alliance, I think, man, I
have one in mind. I'm going to say A.
I am going to say A
really?
as well.
Okay.
I am because I think, our current score was pretty good. 5.5 was solid. I think that we need to speak for people who really do like this kind of game. I said it before when we were talking about the potential best Marvel games ever made, that this is the spirit of a superhero game.
It's a good point. Yeah. That's a good point. And so I will also say, I want to keep this game in mind when we do Marvel's The Avengers.
We have to make that a footnote.
They are a one-to-one comparison in a lot of ways.
In a lot of ways, and in a lot of ways, I think Ultimate Alliance does it better.
Oh, it eats its lunch.
Yes.
That's an important part of this. Do you want to just do this next?
Okay,
then?
let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's go
do Marvel's Avengers.
Marvel's Avengers, which came out in 2020. We did a whole episode on this game. I had my reservations about it because I was like, do we have a game? You and I have talked a lot about what it would take to get an Avengers game and to do it right. And we talked about how the mechanics between each superhero would have to be so different to allow for it to feel like you're playing as the Hulk, even though you're standing next to Iron Man, next to Spider-Man, next to Scarlet
Black
Witch,
Widow.
Black Widow. Yeah.
Yep.
So
you don't play Scarlet Witch in that game.
No, I know. I was thinking Black Widow, but
it's okay. I got you.
Thanks, Andrew.
I'm just saving you from the Twitter reply.
It's too late.
That we'll have to bring up in a month, and you're like, no, you were wrong. Scarlet Witch is a downloadable character.
Yeah, honestly, probably.
I don't know.
Do you know? Yeah, I know. Just having said it, before you had a chance to correct me, someone has already replied to me on Twitter about it.
Oh no, 100%. They're like, oh, you gonna? Oh fuck.
So why don't you walk me through? Because you played more of this game than I did.
I beat this game.
You beat the game.
I beat this game. And I will say reluctantly so. It is so funny that I actually don't think they did a terrible job of differentiating the skill sets of each character. Hawkeye, standing back from a distance, has some level of hand-to-hand. Captain America, all hand-to-hand, some projectile because of throwing the shield. Then Hulk just jumping up 3 levels and kicking the shit out of people. I think they did that all really well. And the problem is you look at the game and you play the game and you go, this is good. Why is this not fun?
Yeah.
And it just shows you that 2 things. I think the MCU has ruined these games.
Sure.
Because the second another voice comes out of these characters, you're
It's
like,
not-
the fuck is this?
Yeah.
The fuck is this guy? Like, he doesn't even look like Chris Evans, And this is a guy that read the comics the whole time.
Yes.
I should be able to differentiate. There is a part of me that has real trouble hearing the voices and not having the same one.
Yeah.
And at the same time is that, if it is such a secret magic combination of getting games right. And when one thing is off, it just shifts everything to the right. And you're like, it's not technically bad.
Yeah.
It's just not good.
Yeah.
And I honestly can't put my finger on it, but I played it, I beat it, and the best part of the game is Camilla Khan. Is Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
She's the only one having fun.
Yeah.
She's the only one like, yay.
Yeah.
Whatever. And so
she is your avatar essentially in the game. She's so excited to be there.
And she really is kind of like, this was also a precursor to that TV show, and then with the Marvels is coming out a little bit, who introduced them, but she's a fan of these people and just happened to get the power. So I don't know why it's not great, but it isn't. And I think an interesting comparison point is Ultimate Alliance, where the whole time you're like, oh, this is good. This is good. This is totally competent. Whereas this, I felt like it was like pulling teeth to finish this game.
Yeah, there were 2 impressions that I had, like the saying, a camel is a horse made by committee.
By committee, yes.
And too many cooks and paint by numbers, which you use a lot. It just felt like they were so afraid to take big enough. Either they were so afraid to take big enough risks that it felt generic.
Yes.
Or in order to make it so that you could play as so many different characters, you needed to gravitate around one very basic premise, which is beat everything up. And that's kind of what the game became about. And you talk about the movies ruining the games for us. And I agree with that in terms of the actors, but I think there's also the element that the best parts of the Marvel movies is not the battles. It isn't anymore.
No.
It definitely, especially now. So when the whole game is just battles, it's like, wait, this is so far removed from what I like about superhero movies now that maybe it's just not good enough for me, and maybe that's not enough.
I agree with you. And you actually said something you're really interesting about, because the same argument can be made about the MCU.
Yeah.
They just don't take chances. They're playing it so safe because they need to be applying to 4 quadrants and apply to everybody, and no one can be offended by it, which is, saying something.
Come to the Punisher side, baby.
Yeah, 100%.
Fucking cancel culture.
He would say something like that, and you'd be like an Iron Man, like, oh my God. Jesus Christ.
He was in Daredevil.
Yes.
Did he play any of those roles? I didn't see season 2.
No, I
didn't watch the full Punisher show. I mean,
as far as I remember, no.
Yeah.
Supposedly he's coming back, eh?
Yeah.
Which I think I also couldn't imagine somebody else playing it. Like John Barenthal's perfect for this. He's
pretty good,
John Barenthal having a moment.
Yeah.
Very good actor. So
unbelievable actor.
Yeah.
He's so good.
He's so good. Did you watch American Gigolo?
No, I haven't.
But he's the best part.
Yeah,
you're like, this guy's undeniable.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember, this is such an aside, but I remember watching The Pacific,
yes,
which was the follow-up to Band of Brothers.
Yes.
And he has a very brief arc in it, but I saw him and I was like, the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
And, then he dies, spoiler. But I've remembered him because of that weird scene.
Yeah.
And every time I've seen him since, I'm like, that's the guy from The Pacific.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
He just shows up as like the one scene he's in Wolf of Wall Street. You're like, this guy's fucking
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Hey, he's just great. So yeah, I couldn't imagine them recasting that. But yes, playing it safe is an issue with this. And it also falls into this weird MCU thing. Man, maybe they're more alike than I thought. Everything's oddly gray. And you're like watching you're like, why isn't this more fun?
Yeah.
And I think that's a nice, man, I'm just segueing myself all over the place here, but a juxtaposition to doing Guardians of the Galaxy.
Sure.
So why don't we give Marvel's Avengers a ranking? I think this is the most B game of all time.
I would say C, honestly.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm okay with that.
But I'm not. Let's tentatively. Okay, so B, Spider-Man the movie and Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction are there. C is the Punisher and Spider-Man on N64. I'm okay with B.
I think B's good, and I also want to bring up too all the downloadable characters. I think Square Enix, who made the game, tried desperately to go like, okay, so also speaking of games that were broken up on delivery.
Yes.
I think they were like, okay, Kate Bishop, you're going to get Kate Bishop. Black Panther, do you want Black Panther? And you're like,
well, the downloadable characters and just the idea of it being like a Destiny kind of loot game, or not loot, but like experience,
yes,
and making it so much about the costumes
outfits,
and all this.
Yeah, it was a lot of that.
It was I think a bad call, because ultimately it played with the stats and the numbers of the fights and trying to level up your character instead of being like ability focused, like Spider-Man would be. It's like, now you punch, and when you punch it has more damage, and it's like, that's not a fun superhero thing. You want to be able to expand your horizons and what you do and who you can play with. So I agree with that. And the reason why, going back to the footnote we talked about, I think the Ultimate Alliance is a better version of this, is because it's more of like a turn-based kind of like Diablo style kind of top-down. Not turn-based, I know that's not it, but it's like ability-based and cooldown-based. They really could let each of the characters do whatever the fuck they wanted. Yeah. And the intermingling of those characters felt less tuned towards beat 'em up and just like, hey, let's just kick ass, and more towards collaborating with the people around you. And I think that worked really well.
So close, yet so far. Like, it really is.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yep. So now, you know what? We can skip by X-Men Origins Wolverine. I think we've got a lot on there. I don't think you played that one.
No, I did not.
I played some of it. It was basically a God of War clone, which I found kind of interesting, more well received by consumers than critics. But it didn't leave enough of an impression. Yeah. We're running a bit low on time. Guardians of the Galaxy is the next one. Yeah. 2021. Speaking of a game that has a bunch of different people doing a bunch of different things. Speaking of Marvel to DC comparisons, we talked about Spider-Man to Batman, and this is Guardians versus Suicide Squad. Yeah. And it looks, at least from the outset, that Suicide Squad is going to fumble the ball pretty handily.
God damn it.
But Guardians, I know a lot of people fucking love that game, and you played a lot of it.
Yeah, I beat the game actually again. I sense a trend in this one as opposed to but it's, you know what? All the same things I said about the Avengers, similar things. it's kind of weird not hearing the voices come out of the characters.
Sure.
And especially with the ones not wearing masks. A lot of these people are just people.
Yeah.
And you're kind of staring at the whole time like, yeah, it's just like it's like a birthday kid's version of,
like you ordered Groot on wish.com or something like that.
This game's great because it kind of expands what you can do with video games. You can do anything, and the Guardians of the Galaxy world and the many galaxies that they visit to kind of plays upon that as well. I think it's more quippy and not in an annoying way. When it originally started, I kind of went, oh crap, they're going to talk to each other the whole time. Right. But, after a while, you start feeling that kind of teamwork, which I think is absent from all the other team-based games that Marvel has put out. These characters are a team, and I like the way that they fight with each other and rely on each other. And while the gameplay is nothing spectacular, to be perfectly honest, it doesn't get in the way. Yeah. And if that's all you can say, then at least it was fun to play.
Honestly, if the story is the driver of the game, I don't have an issue with that. Sometimes like we play walking sims, and walking from one objective to another or one puzzle to another isn't fun, but it just progresses the story. And if along the way you get combat that is passable, that is like cool and kind of informs the relationship between the characters, I'm also cool with that. Yeah. I also like that they took a risk on, I guess you can't really call it a minor franchise within the Marvel universe anymore. But talk about taking a risk. Yeah. Like this could have failed and failed hard. Them just having the confidence to rebuild the characters from scratch and hope that people were okay with that, and it turns out they were. I think this bodes well for what could happen with other franchises in the future.
That's interesting. I didn't even think about that. And I think the other one too that I haven't even talked about, but it kind of is important, especially around Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy was created by the movies were done by one person. Yeah. James Gunn directed all of them. Yeah. And he took a lot of spins that were his own personal choices. Sure. The music. Yep. Supposedly that was a big fight at the end where he goes, they didn't want it in the movie. And he's like, I have to make the music a part of the story. It's the only way I can do this with the awesome mix and stuff like that. And then immediately upon release, it's like #1 in the country. And he's probably like, you fucking told idiots. You guys. Yeah. I can't wait to go to DC. Yeah. And it's hard not to Guardians of the Galaxy. We know the Guardians of the Galaxy through James Gunn's eyes. Yeah. Right? Not many people would have read the comics. I didn't read the comics. Right. They weren't big characters. And so to now take that version, but not use James Gunn and then put it in there and go like, it's 90% of it. He wears headphones. He has an awesome mix, but it's not the characters we know on there. Yeah. It just feels a little odd. I think they still did a good enough job, but it is funny to do a guy's version of them, but don't have him involved.
That's a great point. And I wonder how much the authorship of whomever has directed the relative Marvel movie will impact games moving forward. When do we get, and does Marvel Spider-Man count as one, a game version of a Marvel game that's authorship is the game company itself? Wolverine, Insomniac is doing Wolverine, and I'm like, maybe this is their Wolverine that we've never seen before.
I can't wait.
It could be fucking amazing.
That trailer's so good. Yeah. Oh, God. But yeah, I can't wait. And I want somebody to take, I like the singular visions of things. For Making things general, I think this is more of just a society thing at this point. General things fail. Yeah. Specific things seem to do really well because it's speaking to a bunch of people that can fall in love with the property all over again.
Let Kojima make a Hulk game.
Honestly, oh God, it would be so funny.
You know what it would be? You would be Bruce Banner packing up your little bindle, going from town to town and walking it Sam Porter Bridges. It's like across the countryside.
I just can't wait for Hulk to be like, hello, I'm Hulk Smash'em, and I need to... And you're like, interesting. Okay. Except in this one, Bruce Banner's the monster. And you're like, no. Yeah, all right.
So Guardians of the Galaxy, Andrew, why don't you lead us off? You have more experience with this game than I do. Where are you thinking this one lands?
It's better than Marvel's Avengers, and that only leaves us with the A. But I don't know if it's enough of better to put it in the A. I'd be very comfortable with in B. It's a good B game. Bs are very acceptable, playable games. I think that's totally fine.
Yeah, I think having it, B is the average of the bell curve. I'd rather have more in B than in A. And currently in A, we have X-Men Arcade, Spider-Man 2, Marvel Ultimate Alliance. In B, we've still got Spider-Man the movie game, Incredible Hulk, Ultimate Destruction, Marvel's Avengers, and Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it's right at home there.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. I know people are going to yell at us about that because I think people really like Guardians, but I think it's totally fine. Whereas Marvel's Avengers, maybe even now is closer to C. Yeah. But I think the breadth of the game, the size of the game kind of gives it more ability to be in the
That's fair. There. I like that. Yeah. Let's go with Marvel Snap. Okay. Kind of a surprise edition. Now, full disclosure, I haven't played Marvel Snap. I don't usually do the mobile game thing, but I know, Andrew, you've dabbled in it. Yes. What are your thoughts?
As a commute boy, I like to have a couple of things on my phone that I can do.
Did you say a cute boy? Because you should have.
Thanks, buddy. Every once in a while, you need a little bit like that. A little tap on the ass, a little attaboy. So Marvel Snap, a card playing game.
Yes.
It's literally, Magic or any other kind of card game that you can think of. You're going to play your card. I'm going to play my card, and we can see how we're going to play. Now, I'm not going to get too much into the actual strategy of it because it's going to sound insane, but essentially you have 3 pods on each side. You can play max of 4 cards in each pod. And depending on the game, you can kind of only play 10 cards. So there is a little bit of strategy. There'll be empty spaces. And that makes the rounds go by pretty quick, right? The matches are very quick. They have 45 seconds. Yeah. Like they go by very quickly. And so what you want to do is put your cards, you want to win each pod. Right. Because your one is facing theirs, your one is facing theirs, and all 3. And so somebody's going to win 2-1. You can win 3-0. Sure. And it's funny because they interact with each other. If I play Captain America, he raises the spirits of the other 3 cards and they increase. Great. So it's very organic to the actual character you're going to play. And I have to say, there are hundreds of cards. Yeah. There are hundreds of superheroes you can play as, which I think is the real draw for this. Yeah. It's also free. And it is completely free to play in the way that you cannot pay to really improve. You can pay to get new visuals with the cards or new outfits or that kind of thing. But you don't actually, if you pay, you're not going to get better at the game for it. The amount of restraint Marvel has to have to do something like that and not just let you. But look, a company as big as Blizzard does that with Diablo, the mobile game, and no one's playing Diablo anymore. People are still playing Marvel Snap, so it seems like it's the right call. Yeah, or Fortnite. You can't get better at Fortnite by paying money. Yeah, you can look different. Sure, whatever. Which you hate. I do. Oh, everyone's got to look the same. I wish we had the science fiction future where everyone's in just a one jumper with a V, and that was it. Right. And they're all, you always say the thing about the skin color. Which one? Well, you like them to look like you. Look like me? Yeah, you always say that. No, that's Frank Castle. That's Frank Castle. Oh, right. So I'm thinking of the Punisher. The Punisher. My other podcast host. Yeah, you two on a daily caller. Daily caller. So Frank, what do you think of Ben Shapiro? He's like, what I think about Ben Shapiro. Chomping on a cigar. Marvel Snap, Andrew, what are you thinking for that? It is very one note. You can play for a bit and you couldn't play for an hour. You'd go crazy. Sure. But at the same time, it works very well for what it asks to do. God, I don't want to put another one in B. But it is kind of the definition of a B game, though. Okay. Yeah, I really honestly think I have to put it in B because it does very well, but it is so limited in its scope that, I wouldn't be upset about A just because there's space for a card game in A. I'm okay with A. Kind of game. And it's again, you talk about comics were cool to people who liked comics, and then the MCU came around and then they were cool to everyone. Yeah. This is something that puts a Marvel game in everyone's pocket. So for that perspective, and it's free. Okay, no, I'm good with A because it plays, there is technically nothing wrong with it. You know what I mean? It plays incredibly well. I'm going to play it later. I'm just thinking about it. It's fun. Amazing. Now the last on the list, Lego Marvel Superheroes. Again, I'll use paint by numbers. Yes. Very typical. It's a Lego game. Not sure what more you need to know about it. And when you say that, to some people, they're like, great. Yes. And then other people are like, oh, yeah. Lego is very divisive in that way because use Marvel Snap there for a second. Like, they are totally playable games. They operate and they're all very similar. Yep. They just kind of change the dressing. Now, if we talk about another famous corollary we have on the show, we talk about the Pokemon Snap thing. Yes. Where you put a dressing on something that we like and you immediately goes up 10%. Which is the definition of the Lego games. Because they don't make original games anymore. Right. They just strap on do you like Harry Potter? Sure. Like, yeah, here we go. Same thing. So I am not a Lego person. Real life. Love Lego. Love Lego in real life. Love video game Lego. Even when they did something like that, I love like this game, like the Marvel world. Excuse me. I found myself getting so exhausted by this game. I don't know if I can put it too high, and this is going to be one of those ones that like Metacritic's probably at 97%, and we're going to be like, eh. It was around the time when people still really liked and applauded the Lego games, but looking back, it's a reskin of every other Lego game we've played for the most part. You're not a Lego game guy. No, here's the thing. I've heard from a lot of parents who love the Lego games because you can give it to your kid, even if they're not, if they're little dum-dums. Yep. Or like I could give it to you, for example. Right. And you could. I'm a big dum-dum. And a big dum-dum. Yep. And we could play together. And Absolutely. I could be like, Andrew, stop chewing on Lego in real life. You're going to choke on it. Pick up this controller and play this game with me. So I understand that there's something there. And it's also, a way to invite other people into a gaming space who might not be able to play something like Marvel's Avengers. But for me, I don't know. I don't think this needs to be high. I think
it could be the Marvel's Lego game you play, but if it is, then it's just like any other Lego game you've played. At least Marvel Snap has a little bit more thought put into it. It has to take some more risks. It has to be a bit more detail oriented, which is why, sure, you can have a card, like any kind of card game. It can be reskinned with anything, but they actually put love and care into it a little bit more with that. I don't know. I'm thinking B or C for me.
If it's my personal rankings, I'm putting C.
Okay, great. I'm totally on board with that.
It's a totally fine game. I know I'm being an absolute hypocrite by like some of the criticism I'm giving. We're positives for others. But I find this to be like, if we're now looking at all these games, like, what do you want to play next? Man, this is near the bottom of the list.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so that leaves us with all of our rankings. We've finished the list, Andrew. Do you want to go through from the top?
I would love to.
So actually, let's go from the bottom.
Let's go from the bottom.
And then we'll work our way up to the S tier. Naturally, it kind of worked out where everything's just kind of like B is the biggest, C, D are smallest, and then at the top, we've only got 2 as well. So I think we've done a good job. I don't know that we need to make many changes. In the D tier, we've got X-Men on the Genesis and Incredible Hulk on the Game Gear. No notes.
No notes.
I'm good with that.
You got one, I got one.
There you go. That's perfect. In C tier, we have The Punisher. We have, that's the Arcade Genesis game, which I think is an S tier game, but you 100%. Won't let me do. Yeah. I think it's an SS tier game, actually.
Truly outstanding. Outstanding comedy. I was going to make a joke about putting that in the back of my pickup's window. Let know where everybody stands on this one.
Next to Calvin pissing on the Ford symbol or something like that.
Yeah.
So we got Spider-Man also in the C tier from the year 2000 on the PlayStation and N64. We've got Lego Marvel Superheroes. Moving up to B tier, we've got Spider-Man the movie game from 2002. We've got Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction from 2005. Marvel's Avengers, the 2020 Square Enix game. Guardians of the Galaxy from 2021. In A tier, we've got X-Men Arcade in 1992, Spider-Man 2 in 2004, Marvel Ultimate Alliance from 2006, and Marvel Snap, the mobile game. That leaves us in the S tier with Marvel vs. Capcom 2 from 2000 and Marvel's Spider-Man from 2018.
Does anything on that list stand out that you want to change?
Man, honestly, no.
Yeah. The Lego one we'll get yelled at about. The only one was the X-Men Arcade where I was like, ooh, is that an S tier?
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. I'm very happy with where we have the list because the S tier is a very elite company.
Yeah, I think as far as you talk about like reskins, and that's a pretty reskinny kind of game. So for the same reasons we kind of cut the legs off of the Lego game, I think that prevents it from getting S tier. A cynic would argue that Marvel's Spider-Man is just a reskin of the Batman Arkham Asylum games or Arkham games. I think Insomniac did enough, especially in terms of the story to make it something better than that. And as far as fighting games go, cross licenses, and just laying the gauntlet for what a giant roster of like video game plus comic book can look like. I'm so happy having Marvel vs. Capcom 2 in there.
I would agree with you. I think the S tier is kind of untouchable. I think even though I just was like, the arcade, no, I think that's pretty good. Yeah, because we've covered 2 really big markets there, and Marvel's Spider-Man. I'll hear none of it. I think it's so good.
Yes, it's fantastic. Andrew, what a great tier!
What a great tiered list.
I want to shed a tear. Based on how happy I am that we've rated all these games like this. And this is how I speak now.
Oh no,
I can't stop it.
You should be narrating like VH1 shows,
Welcome. I was saying I could narrate the biography of like Christopher Walken like that, like a bad Christopher Walken
Absolutely.
impression. Yeah, he'd like that.
Yeah, he would. He was on the boat where Natalie Wood died. What happened to her? Very mysterious.
Speaking of, and not Mysterio. I was thinking Mysterio, but you were talking about Mr. Sinister. Dr. Sinister.
Yeah, Mr. Sinister. I want more Mr. Sinister content. I would also say, please don't send me Mr. Sinister content.
I will counterpoint if you'll allow me, Andrew. Please send him Mr. Sinister content.
No, don't.
And the more sinister the Mr. Sinister content, the better.
Better not be sexual.
He's winking one big wet eye at you.
Yeah,
right now.
That's a real secret content for the YouTube channel. But yeah, this was so much fun. Marvel. I could talk to Marvel till I'm blue in the face. So
just like Nightcrawler.
Just like Nightcrawler. Yeah. You're right. We need to bamf out of here and wrap up this episode. But until then, we love every single one of you, and we can't wait to talk to you soon. My name's Andrew Bascom, and with me as always is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself,
Mikey Aaronworth.
This is the Retrograde Podcast.
Game over.
Bam. noise. It's a satisfying noise. Yeah.
And it's also where I love skiing.
Banff?
Banff.
Is that where he goes to?
That's where he goes.
I didn't know that. That makes sense.
Furnished by Sad Styles Productions.
I like fully clothed. I don't want to see an ounce of skin.